How's it going, guys? It's a final render here, and welcome to a casual discussion of the Skyrim Special Edition. It's been out for a few days now, so I've been able to put a good few hours into it and kind of see what's new, what I like about it, what I dislike about it, and we're going to discuss that here. We're going to talk about some of the positives, talk about some of the negatives, and also talk about some of the future potential of this release. The main thing that you've got to take into account is that there is nothing new here apart from graphics and an increase of performance. So the best thing about the remastered is that it has got a brand new lighting and weather engine, and also I believe it runs in 64-bit, meaning that it can load data a bit more efficiently and with more memory. So the way the lighting engine kind of works is that it sorts out the contrast in a way to give a more realistic lighting setup. The whites are less white and the blacks are less black, and nothing in real life, unless there is no light at all, is pure black. So therefore you do get a much more balanced and realistic lighting setup. It's kind of like if you are shooting something on a camera and you shoot something in RAW, for example. There is just a bit more detail in there because the lighting is less extreme and less restricted. And I believe the main reason this kind of came out was because when Bethesda were creating Fallout 4, they wanted a way to test their new lighting engine, and they tested it by bringing Skyrim into the new engine. So I guess they must have assumed, well, you know, just tidy this up a little bit and we could probably re-release this to the public. And I'm very happy they did, because unfortunately the vanilla game actually has dated. It wasn't that long ago when it came out. I think it was 2011, but it actually has dated quite a bit compared to what we have now. So it is cool to see this being remastered. And some of the other nice things about it as well is that since it runs better, you may not necessarily need an EMB to get some really nice graphics. It's got some really nice built-in depth of field now. It did have depth of field in the original, but it's been a bit more refined in this case, so it looks a bit sharper and also behaves a bit quicker when you actually want to autofocus on something. So that's very nice. Whenever I'm trying to get an EMB, that's mostly what I want, is just nice, crisp depth of field, and this is something that has been added very well into the Special Edition. Another really nice thing about the Special Edition, which we are going to discuss a bit more later on in a bit more detail, is that, of course, there is now modding support as part of the base game. Vanilla modding was always available on PC, as you'd expect. However, it is now available for the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. But as I said, we'll discuss that a bit more later on. But one final positive, which just makes this thing really fresh, is that it's got a really nice boost in performance. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't always get 60 frames per second in my game. So therefore, I was very surprised when this one, which looks as nice as it is, does get me a pretty darn solid 60 frames a second. And to kind of put it in some reference, I don't necessarily always get 60 frames a second in Fallout 4, so therefore if you can run something like Fallout 4 very well, then you can definitely run Skyrim Special Edition very, very well as well. So it is really nice to see the game looking beautiful, performing very well, and of course it is a nice fresh take on the land of Skyrim, and the new weather effects from the volumetric fog looks absolutely beautiful when you're in kind of the snowy tundras of Skyrim, and I can't not recommend it enough to see some of the new performances for that. So now, let's talk about some of the negatives. Obviously, with all the positives, there is always going to be some negatives as well. One thing which obviously isn't that much of a negative because it is just simply a remastered version of Skyrim is that there is nothing new here. Some people were actually quite upset when they found out that there was nothing new apart from the new graphics. And I'm not too sure why, because it is just a remaster, but some people were kind of expecting maybe they will put some kind of settlement building in there, or maybe they'll do some more quests, but it's just not going to happen, guys. It's a remaster. And to tell you the truth, guys, no one should expect it, really, to have anything different simply because it is a remaster. Another thing, which again sounds a bit shallow, but you've simply got to buy it again. Not everyone necessarily wants to buy Skyrim again, seeing as many people still own Skyrim on their PC. The only people I could think who would actually want to buy Skyrim again were people who played it on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 when it was originally out, because I very much doubt many of those people still have their PlayStation 3s or their Xbox 360s in order to play Skyrim. So if you're on console, you do have to pay full price for it. Like, if you had it on PC and you had all of the DLC, Bethesda gave it away for free. So if you had all of those, it's already sitting in your Steam library. Go download it so you can actually enjoy it with the new graphics. But if you're on console, you had to buy it again, and I don't think it's full price. I think it's 30 British pounds, so maybe $40 US, so that's good. However, I could be wrong about that. It will vary from retail to retail. So now that the price thing is out of the way, let's actually talk about some of the negatives of the product itself. One thing which is very noticeable about it, maybe I've just been spoiled by mods in the past, but the textures don't seem to have been improved in any real way at all. Now, I was expecting maybe some bit of a nicer graphics, maybe some better normal maps, etc. But unfortunately, it appears that the graphics are exactly the same as the vanilla game. They might be up-resed a little bit, maybe, I'm not too sure, but to tell you the truth, they do look exactly the same, and some of the texture details in Skyrim, unfortunately, are pretty lacking. This includes such as people's armors that they wear. They often look very flat and very dull, and some of the kind of wall textures aren't very good in close scrutiny, and neither are the ground textures. They look a bit muddy and a bit blurry. However, you can mod that later on down the line, but it would have been nicer to see maybe some better details in the textures. And also, the biggest issue with the textures is people's goddamn faces. People look like gnomes in this game. It is absolutely atrocious. And no, I am not talking about the Dwemer. People look like a foot. And there is no way to make them look better without mods, unfortunately. And then one final thing, which is a bit of a negative, it's not so much a negative for me because it has been nice to go back into it with a fresh coat of paint, is that none of your saves will transfer over. And it makes perfect sense that there wouldn't necessarily be a transfer over. Say if you're on the console, there is literally no way to transfer that data to a new console. And if you're on PC, apparently there is a way to do it. But in most cases it probably wouldn't work well because there's probably mods on those saves. If you are still playing it on PC, you have almost certainly got mods, and therefore your saves probably wouldn't work. So that is one big negative with it. Okay, so now that that's been done, let's talk about some of the future potential of the Skyrim Special Edition and whether or not it will live as long as the original Skyrim did. So, as you guys know, the game was kind of kept alive non-stop on PC. It still had a huge number of recurring players playing it, and that was very impressive to see a game last as long, considering that other games from the same company have been released since then, a la Fallout 4. But seeing as people have still been playing it, it has been interesting to see how they have just kind of made new mods to keep it fresh, and will that transfer into this new one? Personally, I think yes. As I've already mentioned, mod support is available throughout all of the platforms. It works exactly the same as Bethesda.net did in PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions. You just go onto the main mods page on the main menu, and then you can choose the mods you want, you can rate them, you can download them, and it will sort all of your load order for you. I do have a few mods running here just to kind of test it. Unfortunately, there weren't that many mods on release, seeing as most of the mods were simply ones that were given to people who had beta versions or beta versions of the creation kit. So therefore, there's not too many. However, last night, the creation kit was released to the general public, so I'm pretty certain that give it a few days, there will be much more mods for you guys to download. And to tell you the truth, I am personally really looking forward to doing some building mods in Skyrim Special Edition. It will be really nice to kind of go into that with the fresh coat of paint and be able to deliver them to everyone, not just the PC guys. And as far as I'm aware, the creation kit runs pretty much identically to the original creation kit for Skyrim, so that's great. Some people have been complaining that some of their older mods, they have had some trouble importing them into the creation kit. However, apparently there are ways around it, and so some of the older mods should be coming as well. There are some issues, of course, seeing as it is a new game. Currently, there is no script extender available for the Special Edition, which makes perfect sense. It takes a long time to make. However, an awful lot of the really good mods had to rely on the script extender. And as far as I am aware, there is no way to get the script extender onto the consoles. So therefore, some of the best mods, such as the most obvious one, Sky UI, probably won't be available on the consoles, which is a huge shame. But to tell you the truth, someone found a way to make a Place Everywhere mod on Fallout 4 Xbox version, and the one on PC had to require the script extender, so maybe there's a way to get it to work, I don't know, but we'll just have to wait and see. And unfortunately, as you guys know, I mentioned that the textures aren't great. However, that will be fixed with mods. But one problem, unfortunately, is that because of the huge mess up with Sony on the PlayStation 4 version, I actually haven't mentioned this on the channel at all, but that kind of means that you probably won't get improved textures on the PlayStation 4. In fact, the PlayStation 4 mods will be lacking because there is still a huge restriction on the modders, being that they are not allowed to add external assets. I really wish Sony would just kind of get their act together and realise there is nothing dangerous going on here. Man up a bit, Sony, and give the people what they want, because they will like you for it more in the end. Trust me. But we'll have to wait and see if that happens. And another great thing about actually having the mod support on the consoles as well is that anyone who played Skyrim originally on the consoles might not necessarily want to play it if it's only new graphics, but seeing as there is the mod support as well, you'll be able to, in theory, make the console versions last as long as the PC version did. And it all comes down to whether if the modders want to do anything with it. And to tell you the truth, some modders may just simply say, seeing as I can already get plenty of beautiful graphics using the EMBs, maybe even better graphics on the PC by using all these EMBs than what is available in the Special Edition, why should I bother trying to port my mods to the new version? Or they might say, why should I bother making two versions when I could just make the one on the original, which works really, really well, and also I won't have to deal with the hassle of making sure it works on all platforms. But really that's down to the modders. And one thing I do have to say, people, is that I have noticed it happening in the modding community. Please don't hassle people to port their mods onto the new systems. If you're nice to them and you don't hassle them, they'll probably do it at some point. But please don't hassle them, it's down to the modders. So, those are kind of some of my thoughts on the Special Edition. I really, really like it. I suppose really you want me to say, should I buy it or not? Frankly, it's up to you. Do you want to play Skyrim again? Yes or no? If you want to, buy it. It's a great thing. If you don't, then don't buy it. It's that simple. Power yourself as a consumer, people. But anyway, so thanks very much for listening, guys. This has been my thoughts on the Special Edition. I am looking forward to bringing some Creation Kit builds in this for you guys to download and try out. Some cool house builds. The next video, I think, will be Fallout 4. But until then, this has been the final render, and you have been the audience. Peace out.